Unit 4, pricing. So welcome to Unit 4. Here we discuss pricing. What do you price and do you show your price? So let's start with the latter question. Do you show your price? This is a big question and lots of photographers are still debating it. Do you have a set of price lists on your website that's very clear and transparent? So couples can come to your website and see your packages. We'll talk about packages later, but here we're talking about whether or not you show them in the first place. The benefit of showing a price list is it's very clear what you offer. People can make due diligence, can make it clear they like your work, they look at your prices, they can do the research. They can see what you're offering in your packages, they can see what your extras are, and they can make an informed decision. So there's nothing potentially wrong with that. That makes perfect sense. In fact, we're quite used to a world of seeing prices, and that really potentially seems the most sensible thing to do. Or is it? You see, if you don't show your prices, then that prompts the couples to contact you. So what you're doing then is you're creating a relationship immediately. You're creating a contact, you're creating a lead. And off that lead, then you can start something. So I think it's important, first of all, you respond positively to that lead. So I think you say, thank you for reaching out. I'm so excited to hear about your wedding and very flattered that you've asked me to shoot it. I'm very flattered that you showed some interest. Or I'm very flattered that you've contacted me. I think the first thing is you say whether you're available or not. And if they haven't sent a date, I think before you send the prices, you ask for the date because you're maintaining that relationship. I think you say, can you tell me the date, please? And I'll come back to you with a package. And I think you want to get as much information as possible. So you could keep doing this in a discussion. So if they send you the date, have they sent you where it is? Have they sent you how big it is? And so on. So some photographers have forms, and this could be something you might consider. On your website, you have an inquiry form where people fill it out, what the date is. They've obviously have their contact details. They give you the location. They give you the number of guests. And you retain as much information as you can at the start. Then you reply with your lovely greeting. So this is one approach. The other one is where you just say, please contact me for details. And give an email which is separate to your normal email so that all your inquiries come in a different inbox. That might be sales, that might be info or something, where you can then gather that and reply personally. So you reply back as John, even though their emails went to info. So how do you show your pricing? Well, again, there's no right or wrong here. So let's look at the different options. Let's just start with the idea of packages. And let's call them package 1, package 2, package 3. I've seen photographers use gold, platinum, silver, rose, and so on. That's really up to you. But let's just start with the first package. So the first package would probably be one photographer. There'd be a certain amount of hours. That could be 6, that could be 8, that could be 10. I would suggest something around 8. So you want a start package that's not too short. Something that's reasonable, that actually affordable, that makes sense and that would be appropriate for a wedding. So I would say something like one photographer, 8 hours. So I think you need to discuss travel. Are there travel expenses and what are they? And also in this package, you need to make clear what they're getting. So is it a USB? Is it an online link? Is it both? Do you go for a trimmed package, a tidy package, a USB package for package 1, and then your second package, you add in an album? Do you keep the album out of all your packages and you have that as an extra? So is your second package a second photographer? So this is something that you could try where your package 2 offers a second photographer and maybe offers more hours. Do you offer pre-wedding shoots? Do you do that as an extra? Do you throw it in? On my packages, I always offer a pre-wedding shoot included because I think it's important, as I've said before in a previous unit, to get to know the couple. Do you want to do that? Do you want to put it as an extra? You could try a technique where you say, I'd like to throw in a pre-wedding shoot because you know you want to do it, but you've marked it down as 500. So then you're saying, well, I'd normally charge that at 500, but for you, I'd like to offer it because I think it's important for us to work together. I think it's also important in your package, you give a sense of how many files they're getting. I think if it's kind of nebulous and unsure, it might create some anxiety, especially if other photographers are being really precise about what they're getting. So I think you may need to say 400 photos in package 1 or something like this. High res, low res, you need to be very clear. Be transparent as possible. You do not want to get a reputation as a photographer that tries to upsell, that has hidden costs. Avoid that at all costs. I once had a situation where a bride booked me for a wedding after she actually booked another photographer and paid a substantial deposit, which she was prepared to lose because she found out after she paid a deposit that she was only getting lowest files. And on seeing the contract which she signed afterwards, she realised that the high-res files were another £500. So I think in your pricing, you need to make it clear. Are they getting low res? Are they getting high res? I think they should be getting high res, and that's my view. So I think if you're saying in your first package, there's one photographer for 8 hours for 400 files, then you need to consider what a second package with a second photographer is going to give them. I see a second shooter as offering more pictures, but that doesn't mean it's double the fee of the first package. That would reflect potentially that they're as good as me. And I think I need to be the lead of the brand. So I think what you do is you give a price for your photographer. So say that price is £1,000, that then you then add £1,000 on package one. So I think, for example, let's say package one is £2,000 for you, then package three could be £3,000 for 2 photographers. But they also get maybe unlimited time. They get double the amount of photos. Instead of 400, they get 800. Find what's right for you. So I think keep price lists simple. Make them easy for the couples to understand. Stick to what's really important. Time, shooters, how many images. And the extras, the section for extras, is where couples can pick and choose and add into the package. So let's discuss extras. So what are the sorts of things you need to consider? So one of them is time itself. So you might want to have a fee for hours. It might come up on the day, it might come up before, especially if it's a long wedding. There's lots of events going on, particularly Greek wedding, Jewish wedding, Asian weddings, and so on. So you need to have some sort of understanding about what you want to charge for hours extra outside of your package. So do you do it this way? Do you simply look at, say, package one, and if package one is £2,000 for 10 hours, that means that every extra hour is £200. Do you make it simple like this? Do you go under? Is there some value in saying extra hours are more affordable than the package hours? That might cause you some problems. I always just keep it clean. So my hours as extra is the same proportion of costs that the package is for the wedding day. So then there's no deviation left or right. So I think one of the extras that we need to talk about that's very important is albums. Now, lots of photographers have a default album in their packages. It comes with an album. That's the way it works. And that's fair enough. I think if you can sell a package that has the right fee for you, which includes an album, then go for it. But you need to consider 2 things about an album cost. So one is the actual production cost of the album. The second one is the time it takes you to make it. Now, these things do take time. They could take you 2 days or a day to design an album. And then there's, of course, the back and forth. Some photographers outsource design to designers to make albums, but there's further costs. Other photographers use the design services within wedding album companies, and there may be no costs. So that might be something you want to think about. Or if you've got those skills, you design it yourself. And maybe it doesn't take all day, but it's still going to take an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours to design the album. And then there is the dialogue back and forth and the changes and so on. So I think you need to think about what kind of markup you want on your albums. And I would suggest 100%. So if the album costs you 300, you want to sell it for 600. I know there is this debate that says, well, that's a walking advert for you. So if you do it at cost, or you do it slightly over cost, so it costs 300 and you sell it for 400, then actually you're getting an advert, and that goes with the couple, and the couple show their friends, and then their friends see your work. Then I think then there's an argument for that. But for me, I always double that cost at least. And I think therefore you need to be considering doubling it, even tripling it. Why I say that is that these albums, and I'm not here to talk about particular album companies, okay? So I'm assuming you know who you want to work with. But that decision has come out of a lot of due diligence and a lot of thinking. You've done research, you've done samples, you've got relationships with album makers, maybe even making your own. Now, these skills are important. I think what you're selling there is those skills. And even if that is going to a production company that's producing them in a factory in Italy, there's still your quality and your assurance that you've put into making those albums for the couple. So I think it's more than just saying it's going to cost me half a day of my time to make it, therefore it's this. I think the quality of the album needs to reflect all of that history that's brought that album into your brand. And at the same time, you might be using albums as a selling point for your brand. So some photographers at the top level, and myself included, produce bespoke albums that are unusual and different from everybody else. And that means I'm working with particular leather makers, I'm printing the album myself, and so on. So on my pricing, I can put my own copy of my own album at a much higher level. And that's something that I'm saying is a unique selling point that I'm offering. So what else might you want to consider as your extras? Well, there's a whole range of things. You might want to consider prices of extra USB sticks. You might want to consider prices of a slideshow that you show on the day. You might want to consider a film package. So have a think. I think don't overlist your extras and don't overlist your packages, and make sure that there's consistency between your extras and your packages. So for example, if in package 2 there's a photographer priced at 1,000, but when you look in the extras, the photographer's priced as 500, that doesn't make sense. They would say, well, why does it cost 1,000 in package 2 when actually I could go for package 1 and only pay 500 from the extra and have a second photographer 500? So just make sure these numbers all make sense and they're clear. And maybe show people, get a sense of it. And ultimately, you could try things out. Once you launch your package, you could give it a month, give it 6 weeks, see how people respond to it, and then make changes depending on the feedback and what you feel is working. You might want to consider the impact of commissions in your pricing. Increasingly these days, commissions can be given to venues, they can be given to planners. So what does that mean? If a venue is asking for 10% to be listed as their supplier, then that means that 10% of your fee goes to the venue. So how does that impact your price? In my view, I think you've got to take it on the chin. I think it's not a good look if you have a price list and you're sending that out to clients, and at the same time a couple want to book you for a venue and your price list has a 10% inflation on it, which I think you'll be exposed of very quickly. So I think you need to just bear in mind your prices need to consider that as you develop your business, that it needs to incorporate a possibility of a margin which you're able to take on the chin. You might want to consider a whole debate about upselling. Now, this is something that I don't do, but lots of photographers do, where they bring very low start prices and then upsell everything else. So in fact, you are buying low-res pictures. Or maybe you're buying high-res pictures, but you're only buying 200 high-res pictures, and that if they want a further 100 pictures, they cost £10 each. Now, this is something I've seen a lot. It's not something I do, but it's a possibility that you might consider. And print sales, there's lots of photographers who think print sales are the way to make another £1,000 after the wedding. So that might be something you want to do. So you produce an affordable price to shoot the wedding, you give a certain amount of high-res files, but then the rest are visible in your gallery and people are then able to purchase them separately and later. I don't think this is a great approach. I don't take it. Certainly not at my clients. It's not right for me. But it is a model that does work, and I hear people swear by it. So it's worth considering. I think my last point is about how do you get your price higher and higher over time? And I think what should be happening, and I'm talking about this in another module with your work, but as your work improves, your price should improve as well. Your price should get higher. And I think, do you do a leap where you double your price, or do you bring it up bit by bit? Now let's look at both issues. If you double your price, then you're excluding recommendations from previous years, particularly if you're doubling or tripling. So say you do a wedding for £2,000 and 12 months later you're £4,000. Then all of the couples that have paid £2,000, their friends and so on that come to you will expect you to be around that figure. And if you've doubled your price, I think you need to be very clear about why you're doing that. You're quite entitled to do that. In fact, I've done that before at a wedding fair when I went in at one price. The following year, I went in, doubled my price. The first year I went in, I had 16 weddings. The second year, I got 2 weddings. So there are impacts on doubling your price like that. But I think as you become more experienced, as you win more accolades and win more awards, as your portfolio gets better, as your team gets better, then I think you're justified to put your price up. If you look at it doing it incrementally, then I think what you could be looking at here is another way in which you slowly over, say, 3 years, you've got this price project of putting your price up maybe 25% each year. And you're doing that more slowly. So say a couple come to you and say, you shot my friend's wedding last year and you charged them £2,000. And you say, well, actually now I'm 2,500. It gives you some leeway to say, well, I expected 2,000. Well, that was a year ago and I've won this award and I've done this and so on and your work's better. So then I think you could argue for the 2,500 and hopefully reach their budget. But there's also leeway where you could say, well, I'll tell you what, because you've come through them, I'll do I meet you in the middle and we do it at 2,250. Don't feel that you can't negotiate like this, depending on your diary and so on. Some photographers don't negotiate at all. This is really up to you what you feel right. But I think you do need a project to increase your prices, particularly as your experience gets better, your work gets better. Try and avoid, in my view, getting caught in that situation where you're stuck on the same fee that you were 5 years ago. How do you get from year 1 to year 10, like I've done, where your fee's gone up 10 times? This is the question, and I think you need to constantly be pushing yourself, your work, and your prices up. As your wordings get better, as the quality gets better, as the relationships get stronger, then I think that should reflect in your price and so on. So you're elevating and you're shooting less. So instead of shooting 50 weddings a year for 50,000, you're shooting 10 weddings a year for 50,000. And this is the ultimate goal that I think all of us want to reach.